I'm going to talk about do-it-yourself calorimetry for critical life support systems. And just to show off, I've got a very powerful green laser, and that's me at a depth of around about 48 meters, 300 meters into Sump 2 in the emergency Golf in France, on my rebreather, which we will hear about later. So, without further ado, I'd just like to thank my sponsors. I managed to blag 2 tons of 20 kilos of soda lime from Dive Line with the promise that I was going to use it for testing. I will admit that I've used most of it for diving. And also, I'd like to acknowledge the indulgence, unknowing indulgence perhaps, of my employer in providing the test facilities for me during the Christmas break. And here we see an early example of some diving equipment. I'm not exactly sure where this came from. It's got a nappy wetsuit he's wearing there, so it can't be too old. And the guy's basically breathing in and out of the bag. And that's a very good way to kill yourself quite quickly, because carbon dioxide will build up and cause you to pass out, as I'll talk about later. But, you know, it can be done. Early diving equipment was like that. We moved on to 1955, and this is a group of cave divers at Wookey Hole Caves in Somerset. Only 10 minutes from where I live. I can get a cheap ticket, we'll go in. And they are using war surplus rebreathers because that was state-of-the-art diving technology at the time. And this was taken in 1955, and that's about 10 years after the Cave Diving Group was formed in 1946. And I'm a member of the CDG, and it's the oldest diving organisation in the world. And next year it will be celebrating its 70th anniversary. So we're quite notorious in the caving world for our longevity, and they're using actually dead boots to walk on the floor. We didn't have the boots to walk everywhere, so it's not easy for us. So that's 1995. This is 1998. In the interim, the breather technology has fallen out of favour. People were using conventional scuba tanks. That you will be familiar with, where you breathe in and out, bubbles come out. But an American guy who worked at the National Institute of Science and Technology basically reinvented this technology. And those are sophisticated, computer-controlled, closed-circuit rebreathers. They're using oxygen, helium mixtures for deep diving. They can dive these things in a duration of 24 hours. And they have dual units, so they've got 48-hour lifetime. This is more advanced technology that NASA have. There's a lockout bell there that they can get into decompress. And this here, the company is called Cislunar because Bill Stone wants to actually mine the moon and is developing all the technology to do this. That's a diver propulsion vehicle, basically a big torpedo. You hang on and get towed along. And that there is a side scan sonar mapping device for which to make a 3D model of the caves. I'm currently working with Wookey Hole Caves to do a similar sort of thing. On my doorstep, we are actually using laser rangefinders underwater, and also I have a handheld sonar one, and that's been used to measure the planet that way. But that's probably another talk that I will give at a caving conference rather than a scientific conference. And also in Wookey Hole Caves, this is my good friend Rich Stanton, modelling his homemade rebreather. He actually got a lathe in his dining room. I will say that Rich finds himself frequently single at the conference. But in 2005, 10 years ago, he and another friend of mine, John Lanton, established a new UK cave diving depth record of 90 metres below the water, and that's about actually it's about 50 metres below sea level. The dive took 5 hours to conduct. I know it took 5 hours to conduct because I was one of the support divers shivering away, drinking cups of coffee and telling stories of people nearby. And the record really was inconvenient because they would rather come up and find you cave, but this particular diving device actually goes on his side, and you can take it off and push it along in front of you to squeeze through tight passages. It's the sort of things that give most of you nightmares, but we seem to enjoy doing. So, I brought two props. This is one of my revealers. Making diving gear is a hobby of mine, and I will try to demonstrate how it will work. This bit goes in my mouth, and my expired air goes round in a loop through here. So it comes into the scrubber, there's a pressure relief valve there, goes through a bed of soda lime, the carbon dioxide is scrubbed out, and it goes back into my mouth again. There is some electrolytic oxygen cells in there, and this readout displays how much oxygen there is in the loop. Because pure oxygen becomes toxic once you go below a depth of about 6 meters. So you have to add a diluent gas in the side to control your partial pressure of oxygen. And this cylinder, which I'll turn on, contains pure oxygen, and there you are, I've added some. There's a little leak there, an orifice, which supplies oxygen just below my metabolic rate, so that it gradually decays, so I have to add a bit more occasionally. So I'll turn that off. People get nervous about elevated oxygen atmospheres. But I will say that I'll leave that on the floor. And I have an entanglement hazard there. So that's a rebreather. You're welcome to come out and have a look at it. But that cylinder is a 2-litre water capacity cylinder filled to 200 bar with oxygen. So that's 400 litres of oxygen in there. Okay? If I was to be breathing that on open circuit, i.e. I breathe it in and then it bubbles away, I'm breathing at about a rate of about 20 litres a minute when I'm model exercise. So that would last me 10 minutes. 20 minutes. 20 minutes on the surface. That sounds quite good. If I go down 10 metres, the absolute pressure doubles. It goes up by 1 atmosphere every 10 metres. So that would last me 10 minutes. At 30 metres, it will last me 5 minutes. Well, that's not going to be very useful. That's why everybody wears big diving cylinders. So, but if I recycle the gas, I'll metabolize about 1 litre a minute of oxygen. That's 1 litre a minute on the surface. So that's, what do we say, 400 minutes? Something like that. That's also 400 minutes at 10 metres, at 30 metres. And the duration of this life support device depends now on the capacity of that scrubber and its performance. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. And the problems with carbon dioxide poisoning and avoiding it. Now, the concentration in the atmosphere is quite low. Normally, we don't notice it. You can even get up to 1% carbon dioxide, and you can happily survive in that environment. And but as you go up to 2%, you notice it, and when you get to 5%, you will begin to puff and pass. And typically in dry caves, you will have decaying vegetation and stuff like that, and you can get high CO2 levels in caves, and it can make you panic. And when it gets really quite high, you begin to actually feel quite confused. Well, I've seen people unable to find their way out of the cave because of CO2 poisoning. 7%, what's that? 6 minutes. You have the function, and this 10%, basically you have a heart attack and lights out. And if you look on the internet, there are videos shot by divers using rebreathers at depth, and they record their own death. And you can hear them panting, and then they stop panting, and then they recover the body. So it's very, very serious. Of course, if you buy a rebreather, from they're commercially available, to buy a rebreather, if you have your appropriate driving qualification, which I don't, it gets tested, and this is the test facility of Kinetic, and they've got a hyperbaric chamber, they've got all this monitoring stuff like that, and the dummy goes in there, and so they do the testing there. This is my test facility, this is around the back of the lab at Christmas, and there's hidden from view around the back, there's a CO2 cylinder, and then there's nitrogen as a proxy for air. It's coming in through these two mass flow controllers sitting on the floor, going to a bubble, a humidifier, because basically that's operating at 100% humidity. And I wanted to make sure that I got the conditions right for that. I can talk later about the effect of humidity if there's time, but I don't want to dwell on that right now. It's going into the scrubber in my thermostatic bath here. I use that to clean my cleaning gear, so I'll put it in the water for you in there. And then it's coming out, exhausting into the lab, and there's a spectrometer attached to it, measuring the gases coming out of the scrubber, and there's a data logging system here measuring the temperature in the scrubber and also in the water as well. I did some of the preparation for this at home. This is a picture of my kitchen floor, and I arranged an array of K-type thermocouples down the stack. The actual scrubber canister itself, that's made from gas pipes that I found by the side of the road. It's 4-inch IV, 5-inch OD, so it's about 100 millimeters internal diameter, and the actual stack itself is 200 millimeters long, so these are an inch, 25 millimeters apart. And that's my temperature sensing system. Now as an audience participation, I've got my volunteers primed. I need a guinea pig to blow in here. Chris, you ready? And I need somebody who looks honest to actually monitor the number. Amy, would you come up? Because if I was reading, then people think I'm just cheating, so I want somebody who doesn't know what to expect. Don't probably know what to expect. Blow in that end. Don't stop, because you get a lump of coffee. I just blow.
How's the insurance?
I'm a first aider, so it's okay. I will be suspended. Well, you've got oxygen available, so it's all right. What you want to blow it is to take the deep breath, hold it for a little bit, and then blow out through there. Repeat that. This is quite hard to breathe through. It's not optimized as a gas life support scrubber. It's quite long and narrow. And these are the temperature sensors. Right, now that one is the one there on the inlet. So that's going to go, well, hopefully that will go up first. You're live, measure the body temperature. Right? The middle one is my reference, because this is a calorimetry concept, it's got a reference, differential calorimetry. So this is telling the temperature of the air. If I hold it up, you see, if I hold it here, it's going up. Okay. And this is on the exhaust. Okay, so you do that. Right. I'll catch you if you pass out. Okay? Just don't fall on that, that's quite hard. Right, away you go, out of your own time. So I will carry on, because it takes a while to get cooking. I mean, it's one of the advantages of actually diving with rebreathers is that you breathe in warm gas, and that's, if you're diving in cold water, it's an advantage. So, is there anything happening there? Well, what's the first one gone up to? What's it gone up to? 28.5. Okay, keep going. Just take it steady, because, I did it at work and I almost collapsed off all the time. So we'll just keep going with that. And whilst we're doing this real-time experiment, I want you to write it down because I have a plot of the thing. So you carry on with that. Don't ignore me. Try not to. Don't breathe in. Please don't breathe in. Okay. So this is what we expect to get in our Okay, it's coming up, but keep going. The exhaust should get hotter than the... if you want to stop, I can carry on giving the lecture and I'll take over. Yeah, right, okay. So this is the raw results from this, and we can see that after 3 hours we start to see the breakthrough of carbon dioxide, and we can actually see through this that the temperatures are rising. It all we start off really with the one here. 8 is the one of the inlet, and 0 is the one of the outlet. And you can see that everything goes up quickly, but the inlet cools down quickly as the reaction passes it, and these all show when the progress of the reaction is. And 9 is the temperature of our water plant. So there you are. That's the raw data from this. What's it doing now? Is the exhaust bottom? Yes. Okay, result. Stop now. Yeah. Okay. Right. Right. Okay. That's good. It's quite warm as well. So we've got. We've got 31.3 on the inlet, and we've got 32.9 coming down. But it went up to about 35 in the middle. Yeah, okay, good. This principle is actually used. Thank you very much. Round of applause. Yeah, so that principle is actually used for hydrothermal rewarming equipment by mountaineers and tank rescue people. You have a little container. You don't get people to blow into it like that. That would be stupid. You actually have a small cylinder of carbon dioxide that gets it going. But that's used to warm people up who have got cold. Moving on, we can do differential thermometry, PCA. We can subtract the temperatures, and we can see these peaks moving through the reaction there, basically. So we're actually doing spatially resolved calorimetry. Okay, only in one dimension down the stack, but it's interesting. And this is not original. There are patents on this that you can buy if you've got diving qualifications. You can buy a rebreather with a temperature stick in it. But of course, it's all proprietary information. You know, it's in the patents, but they don't tell you how it all works. I wanted to do it for myself. And anyway, I wanted to test my own scope. Okay, so that's one thing. So what I've done here, I've used Snarky's method to calculate the actual effective partial pressure of CO2 in this loop. Because in the lab, I've got another system, the gas is going through, coming out again. What I've done, I've basically integrated the CO2 coming out, and then multiplied it by taking into account the gas flow through the rebreather. So this is a simulation done at a depth of 30 meters. So I've actually got 20 times 3 plus 1, so 10 meters, 1 atmosphere. So I've got 40 liters of gas going through it. So what I've done, I've basically scaled it to work out what it would be the partial pressure. And you can see partial pressure at 0.7, 0.10, you're dead there, right? And you've got about 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes to get off the loop. You've got a problem, right? So that tells me how long the scrubber will last. As I said, I've made more than one rebreather. I've actually made about, I don't know, 10, I've got 5. Yeah. No one has yet died on my events. The word of it is called B5, Dr. Duncan's dodgy diving device. And this here is called the B6, which is Dr. Duncan's decidedly dodgy diving device. So, so there's 2 of these pieces. I took them to France for a holiday last year, where some of these pictures were taken. And this one has an internal diameter of 143 millimeters, same bed length, because actually that has to fit on my chest. So that's the limiting criteria. Obviously, I don't want it to stick out too much, because I want to squeeze through small passages under the water, but I can take it off and push ahead of it if I want to. So that's terrifying real. So this is the comparison. The smaller one, this one, you know, you've got about an hour on it, basically. And I actually dived it for longer than that because these tests aren't as actually as accurate as actually man testing in the water. But that's at 30 meters. I've got about an hour on this. That's good. And that's a lot better than taking a load of diving cylinders with me. also means that I don't need to get the fill afterwards, because all I do is I just change the server line in the scrubber. So it's a lot quicker, a lot easier. I went to France, I didn't even fill my cylinders for a week. I did 10 dives, no filling the cylinders. Just put on a new oxygen cylinder. I mean, I hid the oxygen cylinders in the car so that the customs people wouldn't see I had all these oxygen cylinders. Right, I'll cut that bit out when I put it on YouTube. So that's the effective scrubber size, and you can see where ratio occurs. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. I know we all want to go home. Effect of particle size. Now, you get in solar in different grades. This is the stuff I'm mainly using. It actually has a meter of violet in it as a colour coding indicator. So when it's spent, it goes purple. Now, I just take a picture of some of them and then scale it down, so there's a little bit there. It goes purple. But the problem with that is a few problems. Firstly, you need to have a clear scrubber. And obviously, if it's on your chest, you can't look at it. Or if it's behind your back, you can't look at it. So that's not very useful. And also, I wouldn't count on this to tell me to stay alive, because basically, it's reversible. If you leave it, it will change back again, because there's always a little bit of extra use in it, and it gradually reverses. Now, they use the same stuff in hospitals, in anesthesia machines, and that's a lot better. You can have a clear cartridge, and the nurse can check on it. And they've got all sorts of fancy CO2 monitors and stuff like that. The reason you wouldn't use a CO2 monitor in a rebreather, like an infrared one, first of all, you can, but they're very, very expensive. And secondly, because of the pressure effects, the infrared spectrum will change with the pressure, so you need to have pressure sensors and calibration and stuff like that. So it can be done. It's difficult and it's expensive. Thermometers are cheap. Those ones are fish tank thermometers. They're about £2 each on eBay. And they get the thicker stuff, which looks like catheter. I'm not sure. If you look at the next slide, I think it was catheter, actually, because it didn't last very long. But when I looked at the container I got out of, it said best before May 1985. So, you could use the technique to make sure that your server line's still okay, because there is a lifetime on it. I mean, they put a lifetime on everything, but that's it. So it doesn't last as long. And now it comes to look at the effect of death. How does the residence time in the scrubber affect its lifetime? So here are two pictures. There's being on the surface, it's about to die, and that's me turning from die to a depth of 50 meters. On this, right, on this little toy here, of 50 meters, on other rebreathers, I think 70 meters. This one is 10. And I've just plotted the temperature difference between the initial temperature and actual the running temperature. And you can see, this is in the middle of the stack, and you can see that at 10 meters, you've got a lifetime of 3 hours. This is the bigger rebreather, because I've done lots of testing on this, but this is more recently done. So you've got a lifetime of 3 hours, which is good. And you get breakthrough in about 10 minutes. Yeah? And it's quite a way down to the stack. You use up a lot of the solar line before you get breakthrough. You go to an effective depth of 30 meters. Again, you've got a little over maybe 15 minutes before you get, when you can break through to actual depth. And the reaction time has moved further up the stack. You'd expect that. That's good. The science, some of them, why do science, the outcome, it's always good to actually prove what you expect. At 50 meters, you've got a drastic change in lifetime. You've got an hour. I mean, obviously, you're still an advantage because you don't have to take all those cylinders. But at least you've got some warning of impending doom. And I will tell you that one of the effects of high CO2 levels is a feeling of impending doom. So, if something's wrong, bail out, and we carry extra cylinders for that purpose, so that we can, if this breaks, you've got 2 cells in there, you've got redundant everything, apart from a redundant life. So that's the whole thing behind it. So this last picture is a friend of mine, Liz Rogers from Australia. She's a very accomplished and also she took a lot of pictures of me. I got to thank her, but unwittingly let me use them in my talk. I'll ask her afterwards, but sometimes it's better to seek forgiveness than permission. Other people are Gary Newman, who took the picture of Expansion in Woody Hole. I'm actually behind him, on my movie video. And there's Wes Giles, who unfortunately died recently while driving me, because he was the photographer that took pictures in America with the scooters and the habitats and everything. And Phil Davis, who took the picture in 19. Thank you. One final thing. It's my 50th anniversary. So I've written my memoirs. I don't know if I can offer a discount to TFP members. I'll talk to my publisher. That's due out in June, I think. And I've put in chapter 13, entitled Dodgy Devices, is devoted to my exploits with digital life support. Thank you very much for putting up with me. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and you're welcome